Meeting for October 15, 2019. I call this meeting to order and again ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Kammer, absent. Carbonaro, absent. DEYNE?
Yes. Here.
GABRENYA, absent. Hopkins?
Here.
Ranky?
Present.
President Wallace.
Present. The first item we have on our agenda this evening is under Building and Zoning. Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. There's one item on our agenda. That's the zoning ordinance text amendment, adult use for cannabis use. And I will turn it over to Ms. Roberta Grell.
Thank you, Trustee Hopkins. Last month, as directed, the board asked staff to draft a text amendment for the adult use cannabis enterprises that will be legal as of January 1st in 2020. And before you tonight are the definitions that we have amended to include all adult use cannabis enterprises that have been addressed by the state. The definitions are consistent with the existing definitions for the medical cannabis. They include distancing requirements and a limit on the number of adult use cannabis enterprises, which would be the Brewster Creek Business Park and the Blue Heron Business Park. Also, special uses sections of the ordinance would be amended to include both adult use cannabis cultivation centers, adult use cannabis dispensing centers, by special use within the I-1 and within the I-2 EDA Economic Development Overlay District. We've also amended the commercial districts for prohibited uses, all of the adult use cannabis craft growers, adult use cannabis infuser organization or infuser, adult use cannabis processing organization or processor, adult use cannabis transporting organization or transporter, all would be expressly prohibited throughout the village. And then finally, we've amended the special uses, findings of fact. Per our village attorney's request, we have added additional findings for the special uses that pertain to adult use cannabis dispensing centers or adult use cultivation centers.
This seems pretty straightforward to me, so we're going to send it to the Zoning Board of Appeals for review. Are there any questions from the committee?
I think we talked about it a lot last time. I did anyway, so. Anything?
All right. That's all we have under building and zoning tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Next item on the committee agenda is Community and Economic Development. Chairman GABRENYA is absent, and so with that being said, I'm going to turn 120 Live over to our Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, the petitioner is requesting a site plan review for a restaurant in an existing 3,000 square foot building located at 120 West Bartlett Avenue. And this would include the improvement of the site with a fenced outdoor dining area on the west side of the building. They are also requesting special use permits to allow for the serving of alcohol, an outdoor dining area, and live entertainment, both indoors and outdoors. They would be included with this development would be improvements to the front facade, including the installation of new lighting and signage, a new dumpster enclosure at the rear of the building, and on-site landscape improvements. They anticipate their hours of operation to be from 10 a.m. until 1 a.m. weeknights and 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Staff is recommending limiting these hours for the outdoor entertainment so that it would be consistent with the village amplifier regulations, which those hours end the amplification at 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 p.m. on Sunday. They are also requesting variations. The first variation would be for the reduction of the number of parking spaces on the site. The zoning ordinance currently requires 46 off-site spaces, and they are maintaining the 3 existing spaces that are currently on the site. Staff believes that due to the large amount of public on- and off-street parking located nearby, the anticipated parking demand could be accommodated off-site. They're also asking for a reduction in the amount of the 15% open or green space provided on the site, and a request to increase the amount of wall signage on the front facade from 22 square feet to 60 square feet. As you may recall, last month we talked about the form-based code And if that form-based code were approved today, that parking requirement would be for 8 parking spaces versus the 46, and they would not have to request a variation for the open space requirement. The petitioners are here tonight. They can answer any additional questions that you may have, and we are recommending forwarding this on to the Plan Commission, the Zoning Board for public hearings.
Anybody have questions?
I just want to remark about the parking. I think that's an excellent idea, because when we served on the overlay committee, we specifically addressed the parking in the downtown area, and there is sufficient parking. What were we saying? There was like 700 available spots in the downtown area available?
Yes, after 6 p.m., yep.
Right, after 6 p.m. So if the Plan Commission has any comments about that, or concerns, which I know some of them will, maybe you should, I want to make sure that you address that situation with them. And if we can ever get the development, more of the residential development in that Section E that we've looked at for some time, that's just going to promote foot traffic downtown. And with the other restaurants that are coming, restaurant bars, I think that would be extremely beneficial. So.
I think that outdoor area is going to be fantastic. We don't have really anything like that right now, so I think it's fantastic.
Are we able to make the parking spaces available at 5 p.m. as opposed to 6 p.m.?
That's a good question, and I think we have been looking into that.
We actually want to make it even earlier than 5 p.m.
4:45?
4:55.
Yeah, 4:55.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
I think that's going to be, just from looking at some of the diagrams, I think that's going to be a really neat place to go visit, so.
Absolutely.
Good. Anything else? Well, as Chairman GABRENYA this evening, will recommend that we move this on to Planning Board, Planning and Zoning.
Agreed.
And good luck. Thank you guys for being here. And you're the pizza maker, right? The mom. All right. Next item on our committee this evening is Finance and Golf, Chairman DEYNE.
I wanted to table that. No, I'm only kidding. Mr. President, we have 2 items on our agenda tonight. The first one is the 2019 proposed property tax levy. And with that, I'll turn that over to our Finance Director, Mr. Dowden.
Thank you for being here, guys. Next meeting and planning for you guys.
Thank you. Tonight's our first step in our tax levy process. I'll be going over the proposed levy. Let me see if I can.
Can you read that?
All right, hopefully that's better. Can you read that now? Okay, good. All right, first of all, for the 2019 tax levy, there's 3 purposes that we levy for. The first one is our general fund operating expenses. Second one is to pay our debt service. Third purpose is to pay for our police pension. We levy for our police pension required contribution each year. And we levy one amount, and then the state divides it up into the 3 counties. Currently, Cook County is 38.5%, DuPage County just over 61%, and Kane County is right under 0.3%. The process starts back in April when we approve our budget. The year begins May 1. Then we conduct our public hearing and pass the levy, submit it to the counties, and then it's collected the next year. So beginning March 2020 through November, September or so is when the taxes will come in. So this is the comparison of the 2019 proposed levy with the 2018 extension. The extension includes the loss factor that the counties add. Last year, our total extension was $11,375,000. Proposed levy this year, $11,248,925. So overall, that's just 1.11% below the total extension. You can see that police pension has increased, and the debt service. Now, the debt service is, these figures include if we do the refunding. The additional money would be abated, you'll see that later, but there's a slight savings, $48,000 with the refunding, if that was done. So total compared to last year's extension is a decrease of $126,000, or just over 1%. That's for truth in taxation, we compared to the extension. This is comparing the 2019 proposed levy to the actual 2018 levy. And so you can see the general corporate levy, $6,433,000, that stays the same. Police pension showing an increase of $147,000. And then the debt service, due to the refunding, if we do the refunding, would be reduced by $48,000. So the total increase compared to the actual levy of 2018, $98,905, or just under 1% increase. Again, this is showing the debt service levy if we do the refunding of the 2009 bonds. So we have the 2012 bonds, which was mainly for the streets resurfacing program, and also the stormwater project on North Avenue. The 2016 bonds for the police station, 2017 bonds was the refunding for the fire station. And then this would be the 2019 bonds if we did the full $15 million. The abatement part is the sewer portion, or the new money. So if we just did the refunding, it would be the same as this net levy. So $3,085,405 total debt service. This next slide here, a lot of numbers on there, but this is showing the general levy from 2009 through 2019. You can see in 2011 was the last time we increased it. We reduced the levy in 2013, 2014 to where we're at right now. So the general levy is $625,000 lower than 2012. Police pension levy from 2009 to 2019 is up $699,000. Debt service is up just over $2 million, $2,090,000 from 2009. Here's a little more detail on the police pension history with the levies and the annual returns. That's an item of interest that we've been following, is our annual returns. There's a lot in the news about the pension consolidation. The actual required contribution calculated by our actuarial accountant is an increase from last year of $347,000. Two main factors contributed to that. We're on the second year of reducing our assumed rate of return from 7 1/8 down to 7%, so that increased our contribution by $103,000. The other area was the updating of our mortality tables. This is the first year that they had tables that were based on public safety employees' pensions instead of private pensions. This was the Society of Actuaries reviewed these tables. They came out first of the year. Our actuary is implementing them to the funds that he does calculations for. So that totals $189,000. So what I'm recommending is that we use $200,000 that we had in surplus income from fiscal 19 in the general fund to kind of gradually increase to where we'll make up for the changes in the mortality tables. The extra revenue mainly came from income taxes, our share of the income taxes. When we budgeted for the fiscal 2019 income taxes, we were expecting the state to reduce the income taxes another 5%. Instead, they left it at a 5% reduction, and so we ended up with an additional $300,000 in income taxes that we weren't expecting. The general fund was also under budget in most of the departments, but in particular the police fund, due in part to retirements, which affects our police pension levy. So overall, the general fund restricted balance, unrestricted balance was only down $442,000, and that was after our transfer for the police building of $1.1 million. So we had an additional $600,000 in the general fund. So that's why I'm proposing we use $200,000 from the general fund to temper the increase in the levy this year. I would say this is only a one-time thing, though, and not something to get used to.
So when you say a one-time reduction in the pension levy, we need to be prepared in next year's budget for the bump?
Yes, next year, it would go up.
Okay.
Right, when they change the tables, it's not just a one-time increase, it's basically, we have to be funded 90% by 2040, and so they take that increased liability and spread it out over the remainder of the 21 years that are left.
Thank you.
What factors into the tax rate then is our EAV. In 2018, the Cook County tax EAV actually reduced 2.7%. DuPage County increased 3.9%. This year, I'm estimating the Cook County to increase 10%. It's the triannual year. In 2016, Cook County increased 17%. The 10% would be a little less than what DuPage County has been increasing over the last 3 years. Last year, DuPage County was 3.9. I'm estimating about the same 4% for DuPage County this year. That's why the total estimated increase in EAV just over 6%. 93% of the village's EAV is residential, so that's one thing that factors into it.
So that's interesting that even with all the building that's been going on since 2009, we're still 200 million lower in EAV. That's incredible. So that was a huge drop after 2009.
Yeah, we're still not back.
Even with the additional building that's been going on, we still haven't caught up to.
This does not include the TIF EAV.
Right.
Bruce Creek TIF is up to 66 million. But you're right, it was a big drop. So based on the estimated EAV and our levy and the burden percentage for Cook County, the tax rate would be 1.1. Last year it was 1.2, so it's just down just about 10 cents. In Cook County, DuPage County, then with the 61% levy, 0.92, and it was 0.95 last year, so just down slightly. Again, about the same as the EAV, since the levy is not changing a whole lot. So our overall combined rate, 0.97, down from just over 1. This has got all the tax districts on it. It's kind of hard to see, but the village is just under 10% in DuPage County, 9.98% actually from the 2018 tax bill. This is last year's numbers since I don't have all the other counties, all the districts. And Cook County last year was 9.79% towards the village. So the next step in the levy process is to advertise for the public hearing. We will have the public hearing at our next meeting, November 5th. And we'll set the estimated levy at that same meeting. And it is scheduled to be adopted the first meeting of December, and it needs to be filed by the 24th of December. That is it for the proposed levy. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Todd.
Good.
Yes, not. Thank you, Todd. Mr. President, the next item we have on the agenda is the municipal cannabis retailers occupation tax. And Todd, don't leave us. You're up again.
From levy to pot, there's a transition.
Thank you, Chairman
Taxes to
Daney.
pot.
I do not have any numbers for this, though. There's a lot of estimates out there, and I would say anywhere from 25,000 to 400,000, but anyway, in that small
From
range.
$3 to 100 million, right?
Yeah.
So with the legalization of cannabis, they also gave the municipalities authorities to pass a home rule sales tax, a local sales tax. The maximum is 3%. So we're recommending that we make an update to our municipal code to collect this 3%. We can't do that until after the first of the year. And then the earliest that the state will start collecting this tax is September. And since we will not be in phase one, we will not be budgeting for any of this revenue in the 2021 fiscal year.
Yeah. So it's a non-denominator, yeah.
Well, when that finally rolls in, I'd like us to consider doing something with it, something positive, like what we're doing with the BETA grants that we're giving out, something similar to that. But anybody else? Mr. President, that's all we had on the agenda this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Daney. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Daney,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Ranky.
Yes.
We are adjourned.